Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the marketing push leading up to Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. We've gotten a couple of trailers now, and to very generally put my feelings, they've left me disappointed, somewhat angry, and overall just bewildered. Now there are a few things I want to preface before we get into this video. First thing is, if you've watched me for any period of time, you'll know I am actually a big fan of the sequels. Episodes 8 and 7 are respectively my third and fourth favorite Star Wars films. I'm not really one of those people who are just outright trying to hate on Disney Star Wars. I generally trust that they're going to do a good job with the films they put out, and so far they really haven't let me down. Second thing I want to talk about is I totally understand the movie isn't out yet. People are going to take this video as somewhat as an overreaction to the trailer and probably going to respond with something along the lines of, oh, the movie isn't out yet, like wait until you see the movie or even an actual trailer for the film. I totally get that. However, I feel like if I were making a video talking about how excited I was for the film after the trailer, I don't imagine I would meet too many people who would just respond with, yo, temper your expectations, don't get too excited, we still haven't seen the film yet. I think people would be generally supportive of that type of opinion, so I don't see why I can't take basically the opposite side of feelings and feeling just overall a bit skeptical after what we've been given so far with the marketing material. I also just want to mention that up until this point, I've been really happy with the marketing for Star Wars films under Disney. I thought that the marketing for The Force Awakens was masterful. I don't know if I'll ever be as hyped for another movie as I was for that one. The Rogue One marketing was also very good, absent all the rumors you were hearing about reshoots and such, and I thought the marketing for The Last Jedi was also quite good. I feel like the fact that the Rise of Skywalker marketing specifically is leaving a bad taste in my mouth is a problem, especially for someone who has so staunchly defended those sequels as much as I have. Now let's first rewind back to Star Wars Celebration earlier this year. We knew we were going to get a trailer for Episode 9, and this would be the first glimpse into what Disney might have to offer for the final installment in the sequel trilogy. I was pretty excited about this. I was really happy to just finally catch up with the characters, see what they're up to many years after the events of Episode 8, so it was a generally good time, and I figured why not make it an event on my channel. So I actually went ahead and did a little live stream where we all could sit around, talk about, and react to what was happening on the Celebration stream. I was generally pretty happy with most of the clips they were showing. It was cool to see our characters and their new attire, and I mean, it was just so long after Last Jedi. It was very refreshing to finally catch up with the characters that I had grown to love from Episodes 7 and 8. And then the end happened. They showed the clip of the broken Death Star with Palpatine's laugh track going over it, and I can't even express to you just how disappointing this was for me. In fact, if you go back to the video during the live stream, you can see the exact moment where my heart is ripped out. I couldn't believe that this is where they were going. I've talked pretty at length about why I'm generally against Palpatine being randomly shoehorned into this trilogy, and I feel it really breaks down to 4 basic points. The first is that I hate what it does to Kylo Ren. I was so excited in The Last Jedi when he killed Snoke because it finally just left him as the primary antagonist in this trilogy. No more hidden figures, no more secret leaders. It was all about Kylo Ren. He was the main big bad guy, and we knew that we had to stop him. Introducing Palpatine in this, no matter how big or small his role may be, is just yet another distraction. Why does there need to be another main antagonist or villain that we need to try to go and defeat when Kylo Ren is clearly more than enough compelling to hold that position on its own? It just seems to be a distraction from what I feel should be the main bad guy in the trilogy. Second, it seems very lazy and uninspired. It's like, oh, we don't think Kylo Ren is interesting enough. Let's go back to our old catalog of Star Wars villains, and you know what? Why not revive the Emperor? We've seen it done before. Darth Maul apparently could survive being cut in half and thrown down an energy shaft. Let's do the same with the Emperor. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. Why can't dead characters just remain dead in Star Wars? I get it that they're cool and we want to see them do more cool stuff. For some reason, Star Wars fans just can't get enough of those old characters. But if we're ever going to expect for Star Wars to evolve and become something more than just the original trilogy and things that branch out from that, we're going to have to accept the fact that old characters are going to die and new characters are going to be introduced. As long as we're always looking for some big connection back to those original 3 films, we'll never move forward as a fandom. Number 3 is that there's no precedent set for it whatsoever. Look at episode 7, look at episode 8, no mention of the Emperor. A lot of people felt that episode 9 was going to be what they would describe as a direct sequel to episode 7, and that they were going to try to retcon stuff that Rian Johnson did, which I disagreed with at the beginning. And if you look at even what they're doing, it seems like JJ is even disregarding things that he set up in his own first film. There was no precedent set for the Emperor being involved in this. It's totally out of left field, it's totally random. Now, I'm not going to discount that there is some logical reason for why Palpatine can just now be introduced in the trilogy, but that doesn't make it a good thing for the trilogy altogether. He clearly wasn't a focal point before. Why should he randomly be a focal point in the end? This is really giving me those bad feelings from back in the prequels, you know, when we would just get a random new villain introduced in each film and they really didn't amount to anything. They weren't consequential to the plot at all. That's what this feels like, except now it's Palpatine again. And number 4, my final point, is it takes away from Vader's sacrifice in episode 6. The whole point of episode 6 was Vader's redemption. His redemption was heavily entrenched in him killing Palpatine, getting rid of the biggest oppressor in the galaxy, coming back to his true form, coming back to Anakin Skywalker, to basically overhaul that and say, oh no, Palpatine's still affecting things down the line. It just totally spits in the face of that sacrifice, of what we set up. I still contend that episode 6 has the best ending of any Star Wars film. The way that they so neatly tie everything together, I think actually works very much so in its favor, especially even with the added scenes of the tearing down of the Emperor's statues. I think all of that is just generally really good stuff. Now that in episode 9 the Emperor is somehow relevant again, going back and watching that film is definitely going to leave a bad taste in my mouth. I've talked to many people extensively about how involved Palpatine might be involved in this film, and they ultimately end up deciding for the most part that it's probably not going to be a direct resurrection. We shouldn't expect to see Palpatine in his full form, in his full physical form specifically, in this new film. It's probably going to be his essence or his spirit or something along those lines. But my argument is still that that doesn't matter, whether it be through his normal, natural physical form or his spiritual essence. He still has no place affecting things in this film. For one, that just cheapens deaths overall in Star Wars. Like, how do they expect us to have any sort of emotional reaction to any time anyone dies if we can so easily just write them back into the story, whether it be through a direct resurrection like with Darth Maul, or even something spiritual like with the Emperor? I also just feel like if Palpatine is still around affecting things in any capacity after what we saw in episode 6, after Vader's sacrifice in episode 6, once again, I feel it just demeans and devalues what we saw in that film, and I'm not a fan of it at all. To put it into simple terms, whether Palpatine is a ghost in this movie or in his actual physical form, it doesn't matter. The fact that he's relevant is not a good thing in general for Star Wars. I've also had a couple people bring up to me Force Ghosts and say, well, Force Ghosts can become a thing after Jedi die, and I have a couple responses to that. For one, that's been established as a thing. Like, that's not just something random that happened. Like, ever since the beginning of Star Wars, since the first film, Force Ghosts have been set up as a thing. After Jedi become one with the Force, they can still, communicate and talk to other living beings. And I'm totally fine with that, especially with the way that they've been used. Force Ghosts haven't been used to really affect much in the plot other than to advance what's going on with the primary character. And that's totally cool. I'm totally fine with that. That's not resurrecting a character straight up. I've also come across a lot of people who have tried to defend Palpatine's involvement in this film by saying, oh, well, everything needs to be connected, right? Like, this is episode 9. This new trilogy is only going to connect to episodes 1 through 6 by involving the Emperor. He was the main big villain in those films, so he should be a villain in some capacity in this film. For one, no, he doesn't. The fact that he had a pretty significant death at the end of episode 6 was enough for me. Why keep him involved if clearly his influence was supposed to stop there? Furthermore, what is up with this desire in the Star Wars community for everything to be connected? There are certain connections built into the sequel trilogy without having to stretch so far as bringing the Emperor back. For one, the First Order is a direct descendant of the Empire. There is a built-in connection there. They're using stormtroopers. They're still mostly trying to achieve what the Empire tried to achieve. 2, the Resistance. It's led by Leia, once again, descendant of the Rebels, another built-in connection there. Number 3, the primary antagonist of these films is a descendant of Leia and Han, 2 of the main characters from the original Star Wars film. 4, the main character, Rey, is being directly influenced by Luke Skywalker, the main character of the original Star Wars film. The fact that people feel we need more connections than that is, I think, asking for way too much. We can have this trilogy that is clearly connected to those other films kind of progress and have its own identity without directly grabbing specific elements from those original films. So now, fast forward to this past weekend at D23, we knew we were getting at least some extra look at episode 9. We didn't know whether it'd be an official trailer, something behind the scenes related. We ended up getting a quasi trailer. Like, it's still pretty much just a teaser. It's not an official trailer, but it is still just, another look at what's going on with our people in episode 9. And I feel like it's so funny because I had almost the exact same reaction to this trailer that I did to the original one. It starts off pretty good, giving us some cool glimpses at like past Star Wars stuff, whatever, they want to tie it together, that's cool. Then we start actually seeing some new things from the new film, and I'm like, okay, cool, this is what I want to see. Like, what are our characters going to be doing in this film? And it was mostly great. And then we get towards the end, and once again we got to go back to just the crazy, wonky, unprecedented, just random shock value clips at the end of these trailers. So now I gotta talk about why Evil Rey is clearly a problem. For one, we've already seen this. This was a part of the marketing for The Last Jedi. There was a tease of Rey joining forces with Kylo Ren. In the trailer that we got from The Last Jedi, I think it was at Celebration, like right before The Last Jedi came out, the ending clip was of Rey basically asking Kylo to, tell me my place in all this, and he sticks his hand out. Rey clearly made her decision in that film that she was not going to join the dark side. Why in 2019 are we still getting Evil Rey teases? Like, what is up with this? This is the equivalent if for some reason after episode 6 there was another episode that followed it directly and we caught back up with our characters, and in the marketing material they were still teasing, oh, like Luke might go to the dark side in this one. We already saw that. He already made his decision. But even at this point, people are still feeding into the notion that there could be some dark Rey. Rey might go to the dark side. And I mean, honestly, I have no idea what they may do with this. A lot of people are speculating that this is probably some sort of vision, and I feel inclined to believe that that is true. But once again, like, what are they trying to gain from marketing this? It's like they're just digging up old plot points for no reason. In the actual trailer, are we gonna get another tease as to whether or not Finn actually wants to fight with the Resistance? How about they start teasing that Kylo Ren might go to the light side in this one? We've already seen these characters make up their minds. It's so easy for us to just move forward from that, bring up new plot points, bring up new things for these characters to endure, not just the same old, oh, could this character go bad? Oh, could this character go good dynamic? I think it's also worth mentioning that this is the type of reaction these trailers are trying to get out of people, right? Like, they're going to show these big shocking clips of things that you'd never expect to happen, and then of course when you actually see the film, they deceived you in some way. It's probably not going to go down like that at all. This was seen pretty clearly with the promotion up to The Force Awakens and how it really would have led you to believe that Finn was probably going to be the one who was Force sensitive, and it ended up being Rey. Totally fine. My problem specifically with this Rise of Skywalker marketing, though, is that, like, what are they trying to get us to think here? Like, clearly they're not going to promote Palpatine and then just have him not have anything to do with the film. Like, he's going to be relevant in some way. Bringing out Ian McDiarmid at the end of Star Wars Celebration had to mean something. Having Palpatine on the main teaser poster for the Rise of Skywalker has to mean something. Showing Dark Rey with a double-sided lightsaber has to mean something. But at the end of the day, what's the point? Why are we supposed to get excited over resurrected characters and rehashed plot points? This is just such an interesting position for me to be in, because for so long I've been the one who has been defending the sequels, and now I have people telling me, oh Jay, keep an open mind, oh Jay, you don't get so angry, you haven't even seen the movie yet, like wait for it to come out, see what actually happens. And generally just trying to get me to be more positive about it. But from what I've seen so far with the marketing for The Rise of Skywalker, it doesn't seem to be catering to me. It doesn't seem to be catering to people who liked what happened in The Force Awakens and who liked what happened in The Last Jedi. It seems to be trying to regroup fans who have ultimately become disinterested with the sequel trilogy by showing them old familiar things and characters that they liked before. I understand the movie isn't out yet, but it totally seems like they're backpedaling. But that's really all I have to say on the topic. I would really love to know how you guys feel about it. To kind of rehash what I said earlier, I have a lot of confidence in Disney to put out a competent Star Wars film, but I can't lie, the marketing material and the general promotion for this film doesn't have me optimistic going into this film. I honestly at this point kind of say I'm dreading it, which I really hate to say. I love Rey, I love Finn, I love Poe, I love Kylo. I love seeing the path and journey that they were on. Very much so influenced by prominent figures of the past, but still very much so carving out their own path and carving out their own story. This film seems to be going back on a lot of that, and that makes me kind of sad. But that's going to finish up the video, guys. Like I always say, if you like what I do, go ahead, support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.